Are you looking to grow your dental practice and attract top-tier new patients? Discover the potential of digital marketing with a personalized strategy session. Join Lila Stone, the marketing director at Equa, for an exclusive 90-minute consultation. Lila and her team will dedicate 6 hours before your meeting to create a customized marketing plan specifically for your practice. This valuable opportunity is free of charge and comes with no commitments. Visit www.insuranceuntangledorg/MSM to schedule your meeting with Lila today. You'll also receive a free analysis report so you can start transforming your practice through the power of digital marketing.
You are now listening to another episode of the Insurance Untangled Podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. Join us in this podcast as we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Insurance Untangled Podcast. Today, we're talking about one of the biggest challenges dental practice owners face. Having access to plenty of numbers, but still not knowing which ones should guide their decisions. Most practices have dashboards, reports, and performance metrics, yet many owners still lead based on instinct, emotions, or whichever problems feel most urgent that day. The issue is not necessarily a lack of data. The real challenge is knowing which KPIs truly matter, understanding how those numbers connect to the financial performance of the practice, and using them to create clarity and accountability across the team. Joining us today is Kristie, who helps dental practices understand their numbers, improve profitability, and turn everyday data into better leadership decisions. Kristie, welcome to the Insurance Untangled podcast. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Now, this episode is brought to you by Equa Marketing, the digital growth partner behind this podcast and a trusted resource for dental practices looking to strengthen their online visibility, attract better fit patients, and reduce their dependence on PPOs. Now, Kristie, let's explore how practice owners can stop guessing, start leading, and use their numbers with greater confidence. Most dental practices already have dashboards, reports, and plenty of data. Why do so many owners still struggle to turn those numbers into better decisions and improve profitability?
Great question. I would say I think it's because they know the what of what's going on, but they don't necessarily know the why. Let me explain. At the end of every month, every dentist I've ever worked with usually knows what they produced and what they collected. That's kind of what I call the report card, but those numbers don't tell you the why. When you combine KPIs with the P&L, both together, and find what behaviors created those numbers, like, did you stick to a budget? Do you know benchmarks for that budget and your team's performance? If so, the team can repeat successful, profitable performance. So KPIs connect the daily actions of the team to the financial results on the profit loss statement. And I really believe that numbers really can objectify those behaviors and those performances from the team. So conversations about numbers improve practices. If the owner just reviews KPIs and the P&L with their accountant or CFO, performance doesn't improve and profitability doesn't happen. So conversations about numbers improve practices. And I didn't come up with the phrase, but what gets measured improves once. What gets measured continuously improves continuously. And those conversations with the team, if you can review those KPIs with the team and then monthly review with your CPA, the P&L, then those performances or perfect staff days, if you will, turn into profitability. And that's why I'm so passionate about weekly staff meetings, so that those conversations and those KPIs are reviewed often, so that performance continuously improves, not just once, but daily. So review the P&L with your CFO, but review those KPIs and set expectations with your team and have those conversations together so that it translates into profitability.
Do you think the problem is usually that owners are tracking too many numbers, tracking the wrong numbers, or simply not knowing how to interpret what they see?
Both. I've seen all of those things. I remember as a hygienist, my dad was my boss. He was a dentist, and as a hygienist, he had different consultants come in all the time. And some consultants had us track so many KPIs, we just went, I'm out. We're not interested in that. We're caregivers, we're not analysts. So it became a burden if you track too many. Absolutely. And the team becomes disenchanted. So you've got to keep it simple. And then a lot of times I see them, they just don't know. They don't have one brain cell left to decide, what do these numbers mean? I'm too busy caring and loving on my patients and keeping my team happy that analyzing numbers isn't fun. And that's where people like me come in, because we're KPI nerds and that's what we love doing. So,
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
both.
Yeah, that is such an important distinction. Let's move on to the five most important KPIs. If a dentist could constantly track only five KPIs, which ones would you recommend, and how do those numbers connect to the practice's profit and loss statement?
Good question. First of all, yeah, five only KPIs. I really pride myself and Evident in not a cookie cutter solution for all. The KPIs we choose to track first for our clients depends on, what they need to course correct. So again, it's an individual answer. However, if I were to make a general answer, I will give you five. Um, First, production. You have to know each provider's hourly, daily, monthly, and yearly production performance and their goals. How does that compare to the goals that you need for to be profitable? Second, I would obviously be collections. To me, that's pretty basic, because production without collections doesn't pay the bills, and if we can't pay the bills, we can't keep the doors open to serve our patients. So, first production, second collections. Third, I would say same day dentistry. High performing practices capitalize on same day dentistry opportunities that come and they strike while the iron's hot. Make it easy for their patients to do business with them. So that's an opportunity that high performing practices capitalize on. Fourth, unscheduled treatment. Keep an eye on that. That diagnosed dentistry that patients haven't scheduled yet. Make sure you're finding out how much, why they don't unschedule or why they don't schedule, and try again. And then fifth, I would say, and I want to add in six, but I won't. Fifth, hygiene pre-booked. What's the percentage of your hygienist pre-booking your patient's next appointment? Because it's really pointless to spend money on marketing if you can't retain the patients you've already got in the door. Keep an eye on that. Make sure your hygienists are pre-booking around 90%. You can really lose a lot of profitability if your patients aren't coming back, and if you have to work the phones to get them back. And it's the same with unscheduled treatment. If you've got a lot, you're gonna have to use a lot of employee hourly wages to get them back in the door. So I would say my sixth one would be case acceptance, because if you have low case acceptance, that grows your unscheduled treatment list. So those are the 5/6 that I would start with if I generalized a cookie cutter response to all my clients, which I don't.
What about the how do those numbers connect to the practice's profit and loss statement?
Good question. Again, let's review what we talked about in the very beginning. KPIs are kind of the behavior of your team. And if you're not hitting, the profession's benchmarks, if you're not a high performing team, those KPIs tell a story on performance. And so if KPIs aren't, you're not reaching goal with those KPIs, then obviously the P&L is not going to look good. You're going to be paying a lot of wages to a lot of team members who are busy, but your P&L and EBITDA isn't profitable. So when I take a look at dashboards and I evaluate them and analyze them, I can change behaviors and move levers and make suggestions that is kind of low-hanging fruit that will say, okay, this KPI is low, your unscheduled treatment's really high, and your case acceptance is really low. Let's flip that lever and improve case presentation with some systems and some coaching so that your unscheduled treatment shrinks and your case acceptance increases, meaning patients stay, pay, and refer, and they get their treatment done. So then profitability increases. And, like I said, I'm a total KPI nerd and love analyzing those. But make no mistake, I've never believed KPI should drive patient care. I believe great patient care, great systems, great processes will drive the KPIs up. So efficient processes that serve the patients well, like phone scripts and processes when you answer the phone, efficient exams and simple case presentation based not on the patient's or based on the patient's individual urgent needs and their preventative and cosmetic wants, and processes that involve financial arrangements that make it easy for patients to get what they want and do business with you. All those behaviors will drive KPI percentages up, which in turn makes the P&L look better. Now, I would add one more thing. Dashboards are most often performance driven from the team. Your P&L is a different key performance indicator, if you will. Are you on a budget? Are you keeping to the budget and the benchmarks for the profession, for wages and for lab and for rent and in your area and all those kind of things? So those are things that need to be addressed with your CFO or people like us here at Ebident so that we can help your P&L tell you a clear story of the performance and how that translates into profitability. It's key to have both.
Yeah, that is such an interesting answer, Kristie. All right. Now, before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Equa Marketing. Understanding your numbers is one of the most important steps towards building a stronger and more profitable practice. But even when the internal numbers are clear, growth can still be limited if the practice is not attracting enough of the right patients. If you're listening and realizing that your practice may have growth opportunities that are not being fully captured, visit insuranceuntangled.com/MSM. There you can book a complimentary marketing strategy meeting with Equa Marketing. The Equa team can review your website, SEO performance, online visibility, local competition, and opportunities to attract more of the right patients. Once again, visit insuranceuntangled.com/MSM to book your complimentary session. Now let's return to our conversation. Kristie, what is the biggest mistake you see practice owners make when reviewing their metrics, and how can they avoid making decisions based on incomplete or misleading data?
I would have to say the biggest mistake they make is they wait till the end of the month to review numbers, or they only review them once a month. That would be like me, if you excuse my metaphor, that would be like if I were coaching a basketball team and I did nothing to coach that team till the end of the game and I only looked at the final score. What message would that send to the team if I didn't review their performance at a timeout or a halftime? It would send a message that I, as a leader, don't believe in them. or that I have no control, or that I choose not to lead them during the game. So I tell a story in my course about my high school basketball coach, and this is a true story. We practiced the fundamentals perfectly. We ran the plays perfectly. She drove us, and she really expected us to run the plays and use the fundamentals of the sport and execute them well. And one of our very first games of the season, after working so hard in the preseason, at halftime we were losing. And surprisingly, our coach didn't yell at us. She simply said, "Ladies, you're forgetting to look for the shot. You can't win if you don't score, and you won't score if you don't look for the shot." So we're running plays, and we forgot there's a basket we're supposed to shoot at to score to win. And dentistry is so similar. You can be incredibly busy and still miss today's opportunities to be profitable. Dentistry is a team sport played by the day. That is why I'm so passionate about productive daily huddle meetings. Capitalize on the moment day after day. Keep your eye on the ball and the opportunities to score. Don't just run the plays and be busy. I see dentist offices too often that are busy and not profitable. That's why they focus on running the plays instead of scoring. That looks like, I saw 30 patients today, but they were all low production appointments. Or a hygienist that thinks her only job is to scale and polish. There is so much more we can offer our patients and their individual needs for their preventative restorative health and improve the look of their smiles if they're interested. It's part of our job to have those conversations and educate the patient on options. Then it's the patient's job to say yes or no. So, yeah, the biggest mistake is look at these metrics in huddle meeting, in weekly staff meeting, and set goals yearly to accomplish what you should accomplish and becoming a highly efficient dental practice, not just busy.
That is such an important distinct again. And how can they avoid making decisions based on incomplete or misleading data?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
How can they avoid making decisions based on incomplete or misleading data?
Okay. Good question. Um, Misleading data, I gotta say, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not closing the month on time, if you're not closing out your days on time, if you're not charting under the right provider, then your KPIs are going to be wrong. Okay, so you've got to learn your software, your practice management software, and utilize it and the way it's supposed to be utilized so that your dashboard and KPIs are accurate. I have had teams come to me all the time going, "Oh, we don't like this dashboard company," or "We don't like this dashboard company. They're just not accurate. There's a bug. There's this, there's that." I'm like, okay, let's review first our human behavior. Are your hygienists putting their treatment under their provider number and name? Are they the ones putting, pre-booking appointments in the operatory with their patients, or is it the front doing it? Things like that. We need to make sure that we are charting things accurately. If they're not charted accurately and completed accurately in the practice management software, the dashboards aren't going to be accurate. So again, garbage in, garbage out. It's usually human error and not utilizing their practice management software and their dashboards correctly. Sometimes in their dashboards, they're not, either it's not linked to their practice management software, the hours that providers work, or they're not entering in the dashboard the hours the providers work. So then their production per hour is off. You gotta audit yourself to make sure that those KPI numbers have good data. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, of course. That was such a great answer. How can practice leaders introduce KPIs without making team members feel watched or judged? And how can they instead use the numbers to create shared accountability and a sense of winning together?
Good question. And this is a tough one. I mean, as a consultant, even it's hard for me to not make the team think that I'm all about numbers. But leadership skills make the difference in the consultant and in the owners and the leaders in the office. So like I said, I've never believed reviewing KPIs should be used to catch people doing something wrong or creating a culture of shame or blame. Those KPIs are there to help us celebrate progress and make small course corrections, kind of like an airplane making small adjustments to a flight pattern. When this team understands that's the purpose of reviewing KPIs, just course correction, then when I would say instead of then, I would say in addition to, when the team understands the goals and vision of the practice and why these KPIs matter, meaning really the vision of the practice is to be, I don't know, maybe it's a 5-op practice and to maximize those 5 ops and to serve those patients well so that they, produce and collect this much. Those are the goals. And the vision is to be the best 5-op, 1-doc practice in town. Great. Well, also it's the goal to be profitable. And that's important so that we can keep the doors open and keep serving the patients and keep paying payroll. Profitability really isn't to make the owners rich. It's profits provide equipment, profits provide continuing education, additional marketing to gather more patients to serve. Profits provide money for retreats, office improvements like redecorating. Profits go back into the business to keep it running and keep it highly effective and efficient and a place where patients want to come. So when they understand that vision and those goals, then employees stop feeling judged and stop feeling like, oh, this is just about making owners rich. Then they start feeling empowered and innovative. I've watched teams become excited about the numbers because they could finally see the connection between serving patients well and creating a healthier bottom line for the practice. And I just want to say something here too. When you communicate that vision of your particular practice, whatever it looks like, big, mid-size, or small, and you provide that vision to the team, and I would add not just a vision and job descriptions, but when you set a high expectation for your employees and say, this is what I expect you to do, and you communicate it often and you communicate it clearly. Well, if you have high expectations of excellence, but a low reward and you don't maybe pay them very well, those employees become really disgruntled. They work really hard and they don't take home a lot of money for their families or whatever it is they need to use their paycheck for. They become angry. If you have low expectations or don't communicate those expectations very well and you have a low reward, those employees become complacent. Okay, and they just kind of lazy, if you will. If you have a high bonus system and they pay them really well, but your expectations, your processes, your visions aren't communicated and you don't require much of them, those teams become entitled. Okay, so that's not good either. But if you have a high expectations and vision and communicate it often and you have a high reward, those are the team members that are led, that become on board. They like reviewing KPIs, and not only that, they become innovative to help you reach that vision and that goal and that destination of that practice, whatever size that it looks like. So don't just come in here and have high expectations. You have to review KPIs. You have to have these numbers. It doesn't work very well. You got to lead. You got to help them become inclusive in what you're trying to create and that vision and that destination you want to achieve.
Now I think we're moving on to one of my favorite questions of the day. Creating a rhythm of accountability. What should an effective rhythm of daily huddles, weekly meetings, and monthly scorecards look like? And how can practices use each one to turn data into meaningful action?
Okay, this is a lot, and I'll see if I can just summarize.
Yeah.
I think every number has its meaning. Okay, so daily numbers belong in the huddle. What's today's scheduled production versus the goal? Weekly numbers like provider production per hour, per day, per month, and monthly projections belong in a weekly team meeting. And I gotta just say, I laugh when I had someone on a social media post of mine say, "Oh, weekly team meetings? No, thank you. I don't want to work there." Well, that just tells me they don't know the vision of the practice, and maybe the culture is full of shame and blame. And they've been in huddle meetings that look like, "Ah, you're not doing this, and shame on you," instead of look at the opportunity for us to course correct and become more efficient and effective on how we serve our patients. Monthly numbers, I would say the first of the month staff meeting. Did we hit monthly goals in production and collection, review AR, hygiene reappointment, unscheduled treatment, and case acceptance? Reviewing goals should be in a yearly leadership meeting and financial review. So like a 2-day retreat once a year, you can review goals, revise goals, review your vision, maybe, tweak it a little bit. Those are in yearly meetings. So let's go into a little bit more detail in huddle. 10 minutes. First, know today's scheduled production number. What's scheduled for today? And then what's our goal? And is there a difference? Are we below goal, or is there a gap between the two? And then in huddle meeting, what's next is, how do you fill that gap if there is one? Between scheduled production and today's production goal, each provider should quickly scan their patients and look if there are any opportunities to, provide additional treatment to them that may not be scheduled yet. Do you have the time and the chair and the staff to add to that appointment? Are there emergency openings so that when emergencies calls, where should the admin team put those? Are there any patients in hygiene likely to need treatment? And then in huddle, third, really think about the patient. Who needs extra time? Who might be anxious? And I find this really, really important. What personal relationship connecting opportunities are there? Like, do we know a patient that came in that just had a baby, and should we congratulate them? Or did someone just graduate this week, and can we congratulate them? What are some really personal relationship connectors that we can do to not just create satisfied patients, but loyal patients? So the schedule isn't just numbers, it's people. And then which team members, I should say lastly, in huddle, which team members will be asking which patients for referrals, and who's asking which patients for reviews? The huddle is where the whole team gets the patient on the same page to hit production goal, serve the patients well, in such a way they, like I said, not only become satisfied, but loyal and stay, pay, and refer. And this is before the first patient even walks in the door. That'll make your days super consistent, along with your cash flow consistent and your profitability healthy. So then I would move on to the weekly meetings. And I've been in plenty of huddle meetings that where you want to gnaw your own arm off to get out of there because it's so miserable. You might hear things like, well, this person thinks this or that, and this person on the staff feels this way or that way. Someone might blame insurance as all the, you know, they're the bad guy to all of your problems. And then someone blames the schedule. And then the front team, blames the back team. And the back team blames the front. Cut it out. Those are all subjective points of view. They could be right, but they're subjective and you could argue them all day long and it wastes a lot of time. So bring the data, bring your dashboard. Edward Deming, a total quality management guru, said this: in God we trust, all others must bring data. And that's because we're, as humans, naturally subjective. So let's make the conversations in our weekly staff meetings objective. The numbers will tell us where we need more training, where we need more or better systems, and where we need to celebrate. That's a much healthier team meeting than pointing fingers.
That is really, really interesting. Kristie, this has been such a valuable conversation. KPIs are not simply numbers sitting on a dashboard, they're tools that help practice owners understand what is working, identify where performance may be slipping, and lead the team with greater clarity. The practices that improve constantly are the ones that stop reacting emotionally to every problem and begin using the right numbers to guide their decisions. When owners understand their KPIs and communicate them effectively, the team gains direction, accountability becomes clearer, and better business decisions follow as well. Now, before we close, I'd like to leave our listeners with one final thought from you. Kristie, what is the most important takeaway you want every dental practice owner listening today to remember about using KPIs to lead their practice?
I would leave you with this one thought. Numbers don't replace leadership. Leaders, owners, know your team, care about them, and be sure and set a clear vision and goal. Several goals. Even the high expectations, and set high rewards that are a win for the patient, a win for the team, and the profitability of the business. Communicate those things clearly and often. Then teams will support leadership and the vision they have. Because when people know what winning looks like, they're much more likely to achieve it.
Thank you, Kristie. That is a wonderful message to end on. Your numbers should not overwhelm you or sit unused in a report. The right KPIs should help you understand the health of your practice, guide your team, and make more confident decisions. If today's conversation resonated with you, visit insuranceuntangled.com/resources. There you can download this episode guide for this session. And if you're ready to strengthen your online presence, attract more ideal patients, and uncover new opportunities for practice growth, visit insuranceuntangled.com/MSM to book a complimentary marketing strategy meeting with Equa Marketing. Don't just collect more data, focus on the numbers that matter. Use them to lead your team and turn insight into action. Kristie, thank you again for sharing your knowledge and practical guidance with us today. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on the Insurance Untangled podcast. Until next time, stop guessing, start leading, and use your numbers to build a stronger and more profitable practice.